We be live. Hello,
Hello.
everyone. Look at everybody being so excited about the news again in the live chat. Look at
I
this.
know, it's great.
Oh my god, this I don't know. What- okay, so these saying such up bitches, woo woo, woohoo. I'm sorry, I can't even read. But this one is weird. Mustafa is saying whoop whoop. Let's kill God. That what? What? Okay, that is like that's a first for me. But as long as you guys are excited, that's good. Ghost Bunny saying hello, loves. Secular Rarity is saying woo. Hi everyone. Hello.
Welcome
Secular
to the news show.
Sekai. Yeah, guys, we're gonna be covering the news. We have 10 news items as usual. Um, and yeah, so the news is usually about religion. Sometimes one or two of them could be about something you know politics or cultural, but most of them is going to be about religion, atheism, secularism. Susanna, today the news is mostly like tragic or happy, or is like what do we get?
Hmm.
Ridiculous? Like did you manage to collect some good news for us, or is it all
A little bit, yeah. There are
a
some
little bit
rough
good
ones.
news?
I'm not gonna lie.
There's some rough ones, but they're okay. Go.
It's a little rough this week.
It's a little rough. Okay. All right. Oh, this first news. This first news. I know this one. It's been all over. Like I follow a lot of Islamic social media. Well, actually, let's get started, and I'll tell everyone about it. Okay. So, did you want to add anything before we start?
No, guys, please make sure to like this video.
Yes. Yes.
If you like what we do, consider supporting us on Patreon because that is how we are able to do what we do. Um, and Yes, if you join us on Patreon, support us there, you get access to all of our sexy blasphemous art and special perks. When it comes to our Q&As, you get special privileges. So if you're financially able to, please support us. And with that, I think we can get started.
All right. Secular Rarity is saying just mentioning it out now, so we aren't distracted the whole time. But Armin's curls are on point tonight. Well, I appreciate that. Um, how come Susanna doesn't get as much compliments as I do? I don't understand. Like, look at look at her. Like, how come I get most of the compliments here? I don't understand. Isn't it usually the other way around? But thank you, Singularity.
I think it's
Um,
because people think complimenting a woman is objectifying her.
well then well, how come it's okay? Now I feel attacked. No, guys, it's okay. It's okay if you guys want to compliment Susanna. Okay, we're not gonna call you like a misogynist or a pig or
Yeah.
anything. Okay, so send Susanna some compliments on her list as well. Like, look, I mean, seriously, look at her. Look at her. Like, why you guys are silent about this?
Yeah,
Like,
there's definitely people who are like, uh,
no, like I don't. It's like Armin only highlights his own compliments. I'm actually looking for compliments on Susanna. Like that's what I'm doing. Oh, like music guy is saying, Susanna gets more compliments than you, Armin. Okay, well, let me know so I can highlight them. Anyways,
greetings from Colombia. Hello.
okay. All right, so can we clap for the first one?
Um,
Wait. So Secular is saying,
well,
"Oh,
let's clap.
I was waiting until she goes off later in the stream so I could say something like on fire with her word." Oh, this is what I'm saying. Okay, actually, okay, no, and add to that as well. Okay, so compliments to Susanna. So I'm not saying okay. So yes, music guy, Susanna does get compliments, but it's usually not about her looks. It's usually about, oh my gosh, she's so smart, and like, oh, like she covers this so well. She did a good job, because people think that they can't compliment women's looks because they think that's it's misogynist or something like that. Anyway, so can we clap or something? Can we
Well,
clap?
let's clap just because this is like a very big topic that we're gonna dig into. So,
And nobody died. Nobody died. Nobody
no one
got
died.
injured. Yeah, so we can clap. Wait, hold on. Let me actually have the screen ready before I start clapping. Nobody died. It's a good news when nobody got molested, nobody got died, and nobody got died. Nobody died. Nobody got attacked. Nobody. There was no violence. Nobody got died.
Minimal violence so far.
Minimum violence. For us. That's our standard. Okay, that's how desperate we are for good news. If nobody's been hurt, even if it's like nothing special, that's good news for us. Okay. First news.
First news, Muslim woman harassed by Hindu mob as hijab in classroom row escalates. On February 8th, a video began circulating on Twitter showing a Muslim university student wearing hijab being harassed by a large group of Hindu male students as she walked to enter the college building in Mandya. This viral video was met with swift outrage and brought international attention to the ongoing controversy in the Indian state of Karnataka's state surrounding the recent prohibitions that have barred the wearing of hijab in government-operated schools. What began as an incident with 6 female students in Udupi has quickly spread across the state. There have been riots, mass protests, as well as an incident of militants climbing flagpoles to remove India's national flag and replace it with the saffron flag associated with Hindu nationalism. The number of picketings and harassments of Muslim students also went up. Law and order has deteriorated to such an extent that schools and colleges across the state have been ordered to close while the judiciary can come to a decision about the constitutionality of banning the hijab in the classroom.
And before you add some commentary into this, is this a video where she's being like? Let's play this, right? Because this is
Yes.
okay. Hold on, let me play the audio as well because the audio makes it a lot more intense. Okay, this is the one that she comes back and says, "Well, I'm gonna add the audio." That's what I'm saying. This is the one where she like starts saying "Allah Akbar" at the very end, like in response. Is that this one? Is that the one that is getting shared everywhere? Right?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. So for people who don't know, actually, let me see if I can get the larger version of this tweet, right? For people who don't know, Jai Shriram means praise to Ram or long live Ram. I forgot which one it was. Rama,
Glory.
the Hindu, glory to be Ram, right? But what do you think about it? This is pretty. Okay, to be fair, this looks pretty badass. Okay, this video has gone viral. This video has gone viral all over.
Look at just the clip that you've posted or that we're showing has 5.5 million views. And this is only this one. You know, when it gets posted other places, that racks up millions of views too.
No, like Islamic social media is having a field day with this. Like you have an Muslim hijabi woman being surrounded by a whole bunch of Hindu nationalists, and she is defiant. She doesn't seem intimidated. Like she's been surrounded by this like shouting like men who are not like, I mean, it's not okay. Think about the context of just women as a whole being intimidated, rightfully so, by a bunch of men that seem to be like aggressive. Like that's the usual context.
Not even like aggressive, just like a group of men.
Like, okay.
Yeah, any group of men.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's a feeling that you get with, you know, that's a reasonable feeling that a lot of women have. Okay. But on top of all that, add the context in which she's a Muslim and these are Hindu nationalists, right? So it's beyond that. It's beyond just that these are a group of men and she's just a woman. We have a rising stats. Actually, you shared me just earlier, um, of religious violence, especially on, you know, Hindus and Muslims, right, in India, right. So it's not just that she's a woman and these are a bunch of men. She's a Muslim and these are Hindu nationalists. That makes it extremely much scarier, right? I mean, even if you're a Muslim man and these are a bunch of Hindu nationalists, that's already scary, okay? But she doesn't seem like she is at all intimidated. And not only that, she shouts back, okay? And she's a this is the most this is the most alpha Allah Akbar like no I've ever heard in my entire life, right? Like no ISIS or Al Qaeda or like all those Allah Akbars have always been cringe, okay? Every Allah Akbar by the Islamic Republic of it. This is the first time in my life that I'm like, oh my god, this girl, oh, wow. Right, this Allah Akbar. You know how like a lot of people want to say like, oh, Allah Akbar is like intimidating and like is supposed to put fear into the hearts of the enemy or something like that. You know, she actually managed to pull off something that I've never seen anybody to pull. Because for me, Allah Akbar is cringe, always been cringe. Okay, this is the first time I feel like, yeah, Allah Akbar, yeah, I don't know, like, that's right.
Oh my
Allah
god, all
Akbar.
the Hindu
Tell him, girl.
nationalists on your ass are gonna be like,
I know.
oh, the mask slips.
The
It
mask-
was Takia all along. He couldn't help the sympathies in his Muslim blood. Like,
Okay, so first of all, let me just be clear, okay? This is just what I'm talking about, what this looks like, okay? The like, because, okay, we're anti-modesty culture, we're anti-hijab, we're anti-Islam, and we're anti-Allah Akbar, okay? But you have to be fair that this looks pretty badass, okay? Like, if you want to, like, sell Islam, okay, or sell, I don't know, if you want to, I've never seen any video more in favor of the Islamic point of view than this. Like, not everything I've seen is like, okay, that was pretty good. Good. I mean, you guys are still like, this is all still wrong. But this is why this video is going viral. Like, this woman has been turned into a hero. This is the first time for a while that I've seen that Muslims have been united over something or celebrating this. Like, it does not really matter what side of anything you are. Like, Muslims agree that this is based, right? And this video has become such a symbol of fighting the oppressors. By the way, congratulations, Hindu nationalists. You're so cringe that you're making Islam actually like this is what you do, right? When you oppress people, you're helping them, you're giving them the propaganda that they need, right? So you are the world is you're making the world sympathize with hijab now. Okay, like, this is what you're doing. Like, the people in the secularists in India, who want to fight for Muslim rights but also don't want to encourage modesty culture like hijab, they have to now work overtime because they want to be like, yes, we support this woman, but also hijab is cringe. But right now it's like really hard for them to survive because you're either at, like, you know what I mean, like, because people who are against the Hindu nationalists, they want to completely celebrate anything that this woman stands for, including her hijab. And that's kind of like, so yeah, but this is what you do. This is when you are on the side of the oppressors or a side of you make even bad ideas look good. But okay, regardless of this hijab, this woman is pretty brave. Okay, you have to agree. This woman is really like, okay, can we, I know I already showed this. Can we watch the part where she just goes like, you know, Muslims are calling her like a lot of Muslims are calling her a lioness and everything like that, and I think that's pretty fair. Okay, like, she comes off as so strong when she like shuts by Allah Akbar. Just one more time, okay? Okay, hold on.
oh my god.
I have to. This is pretty good. Yeah, this is like my mask off Taqiyya moment. Maybe I'm relating with this too much, which shows like maybe like in my heart, I've never like the Hindus were always right. I've never left Islam. Okay, this confirms everything they've been saying. Like Mustafa saying the truth, the most inspiring Allah Akbar I've ever heard, and I'm an ex-Muslim. See, it's not just me. It's not just me. Like other people who are like anti-Islam, they're also saying like, you know what? Yeah, okay. Look at how all of them are surrounding her. Like she's one person. Look at her. Look, she sounds like she's like so fed up with their bullshit. You know, that's what she sounds like. She's like, she's like, like the way she goes, like, I'm done with this. Okay, yeah. By the way, she's a student. She's a schoolgirl. That's her school bag. This picture right here, this sign with all those men in the background and her having her arms up. This has become the picture that everybody is taking and turning this to a symbol of resistance, okay, against oppression, right? This right here, this still image. Oh, look at this. It's a perfect image. All of them in the background and her shouting and having her fist up in the air. Like, it couldn't have been more perfect. And the camera came right in front of her with all this background at exactly the right moment that it needed for her to be like, shout Allah Akbar and raise her fist. It's like it couldn't even have been designed more perfectly than this, okay? This is why you are seeing this everywhere. Like, as long as you're following anything Islam related, this is why this is blowing up.
Or anything
not
India related.
blowing up, not in an Allah Akbar kind of way, but like actually, yeah. Okay, but yeah.
Okay, well, I want to actually dig into like the meat of this.
Okay, sorry. I have to hear her yell like Allah Akbar one more time. Hold on. What? Like, oh my God, this is okay. Hey, go on. You go on.
So, okay. Now that Armin has had his fangirl moment, I want to actually dig into the meat of this news. So, I think we covered the kind of initial beginnings of the story when it first happened in the government run girls' college in Udupi. And since then, it has blown up across not only the state, but also India as a whole, and obviously catching a lot of international attention. So I think it's really interesting how much of a mess this story has become. There are so many different aspects to dig into here. And unfortunately, a lot of this news has become defense or whitewashing of the hijab itself. So a lot of people, in their effort to run to the defense of the 6 girls at the girls' college or this girl at the engineering college, they make a lot of excuses for the practice of the hijab itself, and this isn't something that we support. And so there was like a quote from the print saying, "It's distressing that this hijab saffron scarf robe in Karnataka is forcing even the well-meaning voices of modernity and liberalism to defend the regressive practice of covering up young women." So when we talk about this news, we need to really pull apart the issues that we are discussing here. So when we talk about this news, we are not here to talk about, well, is hijab, is it or is not like obligatory in Islam? That's not what we're here to talk about. Armin and I both have the understanding that it is obligatory for women. We're not here to defend the hijab as a practice, because it's something that we completely oppose. We criticize it constantly because we do think that it is a symbol of the ownership of women. In general, it is modesty culture, which is rape culture, right? Again, these are things that we oppose. So the issue at hand here is really the implementation of India's kind of secularism in this case, and is then revoking the ability for these girls to wear the hijab in the classroom in government-run institutions now Is this a violation of their constitutional rights? Is this denying them the right to education? And all kind of the issues surrounding that. So that's what I really want to talk about. We're not here to talk about the hijab itself because we have already talked about this many times. Like I said, this is something we oppose and we won't defend it. There's a difference between defending that girl from a mob and defending her practice of clothing, right? So like I sympathize towards defending her as a person from an extremely aggressive mob. I'm not going to defend what that piece of clothing represents or the religious origins that it comes from, right? So when I was preparing for this news, I was watching a lot of content from Indian commentators and from Indian lawyers. And my understanding is that denying the girls the right to wear the hijab in the classroom is unconstitutional, based on what these lawyers have been interpreting and telling me. So, it's unconstitutional on the basis of Article 14 and Article 25 of the Indian Constitution, which is ostensibly the right to equality and equal protection under the law, as well as the right to profess and practice religion. What makes it complicated is that there have been various other rulings. There was a ruling in the state of Kerala that has some precedents related to this, and there were other major rulings that have to do with having the hijab in the classroom. So there have been rulings that, like a private Christian school can ban the hijab in their classroom because they are a private religious institution. This is a public government-run school. Okay, so these have to be treated very differently. There have been other issues, and I'm not a lawyer, and these things are complicated. So please forgive me because I know I'm not going to be able to give the totality of the background to this, but there have been precedents with other rulings that say that there can be restrictions on these rights when it has any conflict with like public order. And there was another ruling specifically having to do with the realm of education, where there can be restrictions on clothing in relation to disrupting equality in the school setting. Now, there's been a lot of different ways that people are trying to interpret this. Well, there's been people who've been saying, oh, well, this is inherently an unequal form of clothing based on what this means. But the way that I was hearing from the lawyers about what this equality ruling means in the context of the classroom is not about like whether or not this practice of wearing this type of clothing is oppressive or not, but and more about equality amongst students to equally profess their faith in the classroom. So if there's like a disruption to that, then it's not okay. And many of the lawyers have been talking about a lot of this will not stand, or in a perfect world, it won't stand. There's still a lot that is like evolving about this because of the arbitrary nature of this. So these girls have been going to school in these colleges for years wearing the hijab. And suddenly, just like a state order comes down and they're just not allowed to do this anymore. Oftentimes just without notice, they're getting barred from their classrooms. And when they're barred from their classrooms for what they wear and what they believe to be their constitutional right, they are being denied the right to education. This is part of their argument. And when we talked about this last time, we didn't have a firm opinion on this yet because we're like, well, these girls are, according to the information we had at that time, well, they are violating their uniform code, and just because they're religious minority.
We didn't know if the school was public. Okay, so we didn't have all the information. We were wondering if the school is public or private, and we were wondering if this is like being focused on hijab, or all forms of religious covering. So that we weren't sure if like Muslims were specifically being targeted or was it everybody. So we needed that information. So we rightfully we said it depends at that time.
So, um, yes, this is a government-run school. And so, according to reports that I've been reading, these girls have been wearing it for a long time, and all of a sudden, this order came down that they just can't wear it anymore, and that they're being barred from the classroom. All the stuff that I said before.
Yeah,
So,
it's ridiculous.
a lot of people are raising the red flag because they're saying this has been implemented completely arbitrarily. I have seen things on Twitter from journalists. I can't completely validate the legitimacy of it, but it was a copy of a uniform code that said that students are allowed to wear the headscarf as long as the color corresponds to the color of the school's uniform, so that there is conformity within from the headscarf to the uniform, right? Because this is very common
In
for
this
Sikh
school as well,
students. Um,
or
I
this school
believe it
they
was for this school,
wait.
but
So
like I
these
said,
girls, these girls can put on the hijab as long as it's not black. Are they allowed to do that?
it's supposed to correspond to their what any given school's
Okay.
uniform
So
color
wait.
is. But
So
wait,
wait.
let me
I'm
say, like, there wasn't really an easy way for me to verify that this was the uniform of code of that actual school, right? They could have pulled that from
mm,
a different school. So I'm just trying to like give the whole story. But it's very
mm.
common in India that like a Sikh student, they are allowed to wear the turban, and that's like a non-negotiable. But they do have to have the color of
Right.
their turban the same as their school's uniform. So there
Okay,
is
but
precedence for this and other examples of this type of thing.
I don't think the school allows them to wear any hijab. That's my understanding. Unless that's unless I'm wrong about this. I'm not sure. Like, yeah. By the way, I don't think India they would ever dare tell Sikhs not to put their turban on, right? I
No.
think like that. Okay, so this is like completely double standard, right? If if a Sikh is not required to remove their turban, why would Muslims require to take off their hijab? If it doesn't apply to the Sikhs, why would it apply to the Muslims?
Well,
Right?
what's becoming interesting is so the court put down an injunction that just like schools were announced on Tuesday, like this last Tuesday, like schools were just closed for 3 days. And then there was a ruling that was supposed to come down today. And it seems like until they come up with a firm ruling, their interim decision is that no religious symbols are allowed. So you're not allowed to wear the saffron shawls, you're not allowed to wear the hijab. I can't remember off the top of my head if they're still making um I to be honest, I don't know if they're still making an exception for Sikhs. I wouldn't be surprised if they
Yeah, what
weren't.
Rudresh is saying, you don't piss off Sikhs, Armin, and they are an exception to the rule. I mean, that's what you're training people. That the best way to make sure you're fueling radical movements or you're fueling intimidation tactics, right? So basically, the signal to Muslim community is that make sure you're radical enough that we don't dare do it. Instead of actually trying to be fair to people, you're pushing them in the corner until they get the same kind of status, right? And then you're like wondering why we have radicalism. Yeah, but go
So
on.
there's a few things more things that I want to get into. So a lot of and when we talked about this last time, like we didn't have as much information as we had now, but we were comparing this to the situation in France and the rulings in France that they have about not allowing the hijab in the schools. And we were like, well, how we in that we support it, but in this I'm not sure because there's so many things up in the air. And it's also partially influenced by the sharp rise in hate crimes that have been happening in Karnataka recently, as well as the elections that are happening in Uttar Pradesh right now. Although it's a different state, having this sort of political action really escalating in another state that's controlled by the BJP, a lot of political analysts are saying is kind of a way of trying to influence the upcoming UP elections, which I think actually just began, but are like the most influential of the country, one of the most influential of the country. So this is very important. And and I was talking to a friend and she was saying the comparisons to France are really misguided because it's a completely different situation. In France, their laissez-faire is top down, like very consistent. Like there's no religious symbols from government ministers all the way down to the schools. It's all the way, well, pretty much like all the way through. But here, like you have Yogi Adityanath, like the chief minister of Uttar Pradesh, who wears his saffron robes 24/7. Like Modi was just publicly worshiping in saffron just a few days ago.
Right.
So they're
Right.
saying
That's actually wait, that's
it's
a very good point. We would be very much against the hijab ban in schools in France if for example Macron was like openly promoting Christianity and including Christian symbolism in his government, and he was like participating in Christian propaganda and constantly like praying while being on duty and everything, and having a cross on everything, all his ceremonies and everything. There was crosses and Jesus related stuff everywhere. And then if then he had like a hijab ban, we're like, no, this is not secularism. This is like one religion versus another. That's what this is about. But yeah, go on. That's a very good point.
And also, I think so it's the way that secularism is interpreted in these two countries is very different, and so it's not an equal comparison where you can just say, oh, I hold this standard here, so I'm going to hold it here, because what's happening on the ground and the consequences of these two decisions are both very different in practice. And you in particular, Armin, are very influenced by consequentialism, right? I think another thing that influences me in terms of how I feel about this issue is partially a problem of consequences. So in France, like, they don't allow homeschooling. They have a registry of children where they make sure that you're not getting homeschooled, that you're going to school. Like, they're very thorough in tracking down children and making sure that they are getting educated. But what's happening in India is that there's the high potential that if this isn't allowed, girls will just straight up be removed from school and they won't get an education. There's already a huge problem in the country where I just learned about this week, where millions, like something like 73 million girls drop out of school just because they get their periods, right?
Yeah. This
So
fuels, and the lack of education is going to fuel fundamentalism.
Yes, exactly. So a lot of people who are not defending the hijab, but defending these girls in the classroom are saying this should be allowed, because if your rhetoric is all about empowering these girls against an oppressive form of clothing and denying them the right to education for the sake of this piece of clothing, you're actually disempowering their ability to remove that piece of clothing later in life when they are on their own and can make that decision away from other people, like mainly their family, who may be influencing them to wear this.
I mean,
so
even if they keep their hijab, like, just be a more contributing part of society and feel as part of India. And I mean, like, and there are other ways other than just taking off the hijab where somebody could be less influenced by conservatism. You know what I mean? Like, that's one of it, but there's many other things, right? And I think by removing them from the public sphere, or especially access to education, you're, you know, you're basically acting like you're fighting against Islam, but what you're gonna do is you're gonna fuel the worst kinds of it, right? The worst reflection of Islam by doing something like that. Yeah.
And exactly, a lot of people are saying the government has had a huge push to try to get Muslim parents to not send their children to madrasas, which I fully support. Send your kids to the state school. Please don't send them to like religious schools. But they're saying that you are shooting yourself in the foot of your own effort to promote that kind of education when you're doing this, right? So it's not purely about just the principles of what this is. We're also talking about what's happening consequentially to generations of Indian students, particularly young women. What's also interesting to consider is that a lot of the people who are making a super hard push against the hijab right now are these right-wing nationalists. And they're saying, oh, well, this is oppressing women, blah, blah, blah. Okay. These are the same types who will assault women in the street for wearing jeans, Western clothing, assault couples on Valentine's Day because, they're not married and they're not being traditional. Like, these people are not genuine feminists. Like, they are the ones who promote love jihad laws, which inhibit a woman's right to choose her own partner. Right? This is an essential part of feminism. Like, these people are not genuine feminists. They are not genuinely concerned about the oppression that these women experience. If any, they are concerned about the hijab because it is one of the most public declarations of Muslim identity that there is.
Right.
And that's insulting to them.
it's so funny when they act like this is about feminism when they're anti-hijab, or even Richard is even more hypocritical that it's about secularism, right? The same people who are the most anti-secularists in India now all of a sudden are like, oh, this is about secularism. No, oh my, yeah. But let's do some of the. Okay, did you want to add anything? Because there are some juicy comments that that we started.
I think yeah, 1 second. One thing that I think about is I don't think that, let me just make it clear one more time. In an ideal world, I would not support the hijab in the classroom if we had a consistent legal standard for this kind of thing, or that the consequences wouldn't be dire to women's education. Because even if we did have a consistent standard, but it was coming at the detriment of young girls getting educated, I would actually change my mind and advocate for allowing it, because I think that's more important to me. That has a higher utility than just like a principle of it, right? In I think so. Where I've come down to this on this topic so far is that I think that these girls should be allowed to wear it in the classroom. But like I said, in a perfect world, I wouldn't allow it. But based on my understanding of the standards that have been presented to me, I think that what's being applied to them is arbitrary, and that it's not about secularism, that it's about showing Muslims their place. Which is interesting because the BJP, a lot of people in the BJP are have a big push for making a uniform civil code in India. For those who are not aware, in India, there are many different types of personal laws. And these personal laws apply to you on the basis of your religion that you were born into or that you convert to. Like different laws for inheritance for Muslims, there are different things for Parsis, different things for Jews, different things for Hindus. And that's why we have all these like special marriage acts to allow these things to cross over and integrate. It's extremely confusing. It's extremely confusing.
Susanna, we're like
I know.
36 minutes into
I know.
this, so we need
so there's a push for making one law for all, which I support. What I think is interesting is that some of the biggest supporters of this are the BJP, which I'm like, why is that? I think the motivations are very different. So I think this kind of ties into this push for a uniform civil code. That's more complicated and a topic for a different day.
All right,
so you want to,
given that I have a meeting after this, we have to keep the other news a lot more shorter because we commented on it a lot. But yeah, so let me just, I do need to highlight the other some comments. Ted is saying hijab should be banned all over the non-Muslim world. Well, no, Ted, you could go, well, I don't want to swear. So we don't, we're not in support of fascists and tyrants here, okay? You don't get to control what women wear, okay? We are against the hijab, but if we want to fight modesty culture, we do it by activism and trying to convince people why something is bad. If you want to ban something from up down instead of actually trying to convince people why an idea is bad, then you're a fascist and your ideas are as dangerous, or sometimes even more dangerous than the religious one you seem to be pretending to be hating, okay? So yeah, get your fascism out of here. So we don't like that. Rudresh is saying they were literally making religious arguments in court on whether it's an essential practice. Yeah, that's so ridiculous. Like, this is what India has come into. Like, instead of arguing about the people's rights and secularism, the arguments in defense of the ridiculous part is that the Islamic lawyers and stuff that are trying to defend the girl, they were like, oh, this is required by Islam. Who gives a oh my god, I'm really trying not to swear.
They literally they were bringing up Quran verses in court. It's terrible.
Your country, no, Susanna, you already said so much. Okay, so let me just go through this really fast. Your country is like, legal system has turned into a joke if you're bringing up scripture for making, like, you're like, India is supposed to become like tomorrow's superpower. You know, you're making a clown out of yourself. You're becoming an embarrassment to your country. This is ridiculous. You should be embarrassed if your lawyers, the people who are supposed to come argue for law, are bringing scripture in court. Like, how embarrassing this is for India. This is okay. Somebody else is saying she can't shout back because India is secular. Yeah, And we hope it remains secular. Okay, so India secularism is under attack by both Muslims and Hindus, right? So here's another set. Well, not all. Okay, Satish saying, if you face them to take off the hijab, I will be pro hijab. If you if you force them to take off the hijab, I will be pro hijab. If you force them to wear it, I will be anti hijab. It's not a problem. Your imposition is. No, I completely disagree with that. There's a difference between supporting the right to wear a hijab and supporting the hijab. I will never support the hijab. I will support someone's freedom to wear the hijab, but I will never be pro hijab. Pro hijab is modesty culture. If you're pro hijab, you're supporting modesty culture, and if you're supporting modesty culture, you're supporting rape culture. Hijab should never be supported. You could support someone's right to wear the hijab, but not the hijab itself and what it represents.
It's about being against state compulsion.
Exactly. Hindutva is saying all you need is optics to play a victim card and propaganda. Remember these Muslims. Oh my God, these Muslims. Hindutva, Susanna, can you please learn how to refer to? Okay, these Muslims are the ones who demanded burqa in secular institutions. Actually, here's the thing. I noticed Hindutva, Susanna did something wrong, and I'm gonna use this as a way to criticize myself. Okay, because we just said these are the same people who make arguments that are anti-secular. So I just noticed Susanna's collective attitude, and I noticed that I did that myself as well. Okay, because when I say these are the same people, well, we don't know, not all of them, right? There are some people who are Hindus who are like, might even be Hindutva, who are consistent and they are arguing from a position of secularism, right? So we shouldn't collectively, like, these are not the same people. You don't know if they're the same people. Just because they're Muslim, you can't be referring to them, all of them, as if they're just one entity. Okay, this is not all, they're not all, every single Muslim is not incomplete, it's not completely the same as all other Muslims. Okay, there are Muslims who might not have this line of argument. So I don't know why you're collectively talking about them as if they're the same. I'm criticizing you and Susanna while noticing that I just did the same thing just a few minutes ago. So I'm criticizing both of us right now. Okay, both you and me were wrong to talk like this. Oh, this person was really triggered. Rags boy was saying, stop trying to glorify the stupid Islamic bi. Okay, so swearing at her. I love this because it shows how triggered they are. They know, like the Hindutva supporters, they know how good this looks. They know how much this video makes them look like they're the baddies, and the Muslim side is the victims. They're so triggered by this video, and they're like going out and like trying to do damage control, and they're getting hurt over they're getting butthurt over anybody who's acknowledging that, right? This one.
Am I the baddie right now?
Am I the baddies? Are we the baddies? Okay, look at this. This is another form of collectivism, I think. Like, again, I say that's why I know I was guilty of it myself. So these Hindus are trying to be anti-Muslim, but it backfired. LMAO. Okay, I don't know. Okay, so I don't know if okay, I think it's fine because I don't know if you're saying these Hindus as in specifically these Hindus, or like all Hindus. Okay, so I'm just gonna be charitable. I don't know. Okay, I think I'm being very picky, but yes, it did backfire. They were like those specific people over there. They were being. It seemed like they were like acting like they were trying to defend their position, but it looks really ridiculous right now. And I think this is another form of butthurt. I can be sure. Hindutva Susanna is saying, all I see is a Hindu consolidation. Can't wait to see another term for Modi and Yogi. See, this is like the damage control. People are like, no, we don't look bad. You look bad. We're gonna win. We're winning. So like, this is like, I think this is like everybody. Like, I think a lot of Hindus. Again, I'm trying to not to use general language here. Okay, a lot of Hindus are like, see how bad this looks, and they're trying to overcompensate by saying like, at least we're winning the elections, and we're gonna get our revenge. I think like. I think they know how bad this looks, so they're trying to overcompensate. But yeah. Anyways, anything else you want to add? Let me see. While I was talking. Thank you, guys.
No, it bothers me how I've seen from a lot of ex-Muslims, they use images from women protesting the hijab in Iran to like show the contrast of like, oh, Muslims in India are getting radicalized because they're fighting for the hijab, but look at all these millions of women who are trying to fight for the right to remove it, blah blah blah. And I feel like that's kind of misled, because in both of those cases it's people protesting against compulsion, right? And so they're missing the mark. And also I feel like it's a lot of, I've seen many women talking about this in India saying I'm going to go wear the hijab now. I haven't before because F you, like in defiance, right? So I think, and it also actually, these kinds of things are going to push people towards being more firm in their minority Muslim identity, because they're facing the persecution, and this is what happens when people get persecuted. You double down on your in-group identity. So it's just a mess all around. If there was a genuine interest in towards preventing like radicalism in uh India, things would be handled very differently. You're muted.
I said just read this and we could go to the next news.
Anonymous is saying those saffron lions are so brave running after and harassing a lone girl. Yeah. So freaking lame when men all of a sudden turn into super brave when they're like running 30 deep. Oh, you're so brave.
Yeah. All right. So can we? No, but that was around. Yeah. Can we clap for the next news? Oh, we can't. Never mind.
No.
Okay. Next news.
Next news. Beheading of 17-year-old in honor killing shocks Iran. On February 5th, Mona Haidari, a 17-year-old girl, was beheaded by her husband. Mona was forced to marry her cousin at the age of 12. Her 3-year-old son survives her. Previously, she had escaped her husband's harassment and abuse by fleeing to Turkey. Eventually, she was brought back to Iran to be with her husband with the help of her father. After beheading the husband paraded around the town square with her head in one hand and the knife in the other. Photos of him walking around with a decapitated head in his hand went viral on social media. After getting notified about the incident, police immediately began a search operation and arrested the man a few hours later. The incident has sparked outrage and a call for Iran to enact better laws to protect women. Abbas Abdi, a journalist in Iran, attacked conservative news outlets for ignoring the incident. In a 2020 report from The Lancet, there were 8,000 reported honor killings in Iran between 2010 and 2014. The same report also stated that domestic violence incidents have increased during pandemic lockdowns.
Yeah. This is the man, and this is the blurry part. Is basically him holding the head of his wife, and he beheaded her. And he walked around the neighborhood so proud and smiling the entire time, well, as people were taking pictures of him while he was holding her head. So the husband and wife, they're cousins. They were cousins, and she was forced into this marriage at a very young age. What was the age? At age
12.
12. And she didn't want to be married to him, and he knew that, and that's why he beat her a lot. And she fell for a man in Turkey, a Syrian man, I think, right? In Turkey. And she left to Turkey, and her father went to Turkey to get her back. And her father brought her back and basically to Iran, where her husband managed to get her and beheaded her once she was back. He felt like his honor was attacked so significantly because she had left her and because she was with another man, and he felt like he had to set the things, he had to prove that he's not without honor, and that's why he felt that this was the way to go about doing this, right? The odd thing is that, by the way, this is the stats on honor killings in Iran are a lot higher than I ever assumed. Once the story came out, the only reason why the story is getting a lot more attention than the other ones is the fact that the husband just walked around the neighborhood with the decapitated head. And that was like, so that's why this story is getting a lot more attention. But the stats are insane. Like, this is happening a lot of times, and apparently a lot of them are not even being investigated by the police or like the, so that's how common this is. This is even though I grew up in Iran, this is a foreign concept to me, because this is not the kind of environment I grew up in, right? So like, these stats of how common this is in Iran is even shocking to me, as somebody who lived in Iran and somebody who grew up in an environment where, like, I mean there's still misogyny, but not this level of honor, like, is defending of honor, and that kind of bull crap is like not wasn't that present, at least in the places I grew up in, right? um but yeah, I discussed how much of this is because of Islam on the Secular Jihadist show. So here, like, if you guys, I go over if you go to the Secular Jihadist YouTube channel and then go to the video section, you can see that this video is called is honor killing Islamic? Iranian man beheads 17-year-old. So you could basically go. I discussed this for around 2 hours and go over everything in a lot of detail. So I'm not going to go over that in detail right now here. But the short answer is that yes and no. Like, the honor killing itself is not something that is endorsed by Islam, but the honor culture and the extreme measures that a man is supposed to defend his manhood by protecting his honor and controlling the woman in his family and promoting that idea, and basically making men so, like, making it seem like you're defending your honor is such an important part of a man's identity, that it comes from Islam. And I know there's honor culture in other religious traditions as well, but it really doesn't get to the extent that Islam does it, right? And therefore, even though in Islam there's nothing specifically that tells you that this is okay, I mean, this is not okay in Islam, but Islam is still responsible for honor killing, and because of that culture, the honor culture that it spreads. One and another, and the second reason, that's the first reason, and the second reason why Islam is still responsible is the fact that the ownership that it allows for husbands that they have over their wives and fathers that they have over their daughters, makes it so that the punishment for killing one's wife or killing one's daughter is so insignificant that if a man cares about his honor so much, they might, knowing the law, they might be willing to pay the price, right? So, for example, the laws for killing your son in Iran would be significantly higher for killing than compared to killing your daughter, right? Especially if you killed your daughter or your wife because of honor related stuff, then the laws would be, even though you would get charged, apparently not, even if you get charged and imprisoned, because a lot of them haven't been proceeded with the legals, with anything. You haven't been charged or anything like that. But the ones that do, the laws would be very lenient on you if it was about honor. So much so that we have it on the laws in Iran, and this is something I recently learned about. Okay, so I didn't even know this, that in very specific situations, you're actually allowed to kill your wife. I didn't know that this is on the law books in Iran, right? And it's a very rare situation, but the fact that this still exists is unbelievable. In Iran, it's in the law that if you witness, if you actually see, not hear of, okay, not find out, but if you see your wife having sex with another man, in that situation, there's no consequences for you killing your wife. The fact that there's a certain kind of murder because your honor has been attacked to that extent. Like, you could see how much they value honor, that it actually has made it to the law books. The fact that there is within Iranian law is a loophole for actually, like, there's one kind of wife killing that is legal. It's unbelievable. Like, it shows how much this whole like how significant this honor has been, this whole honor culture has been. And also, if you go watch the video, I give you examples of some mullahs and religious figures who are considering the man to be the victim in the situation, and they're saying it, right? They're thinking like, okay, maybe he went too far with beheading her and stuff like that, but they're acting like, well, can you blame him? Like, can you like? They're actually saying some religious, very high, like high level religion, like not the random corner Islamic mosque mullah. Okay, we're talking about very high officials, and when it comes to Islamic rules and things in Iran, have come out and said that they're both of these couples are the victim. The husband is also the victim because his honor was attacked to such a degree, which is unbelievable. Okay, but yeah, I go over all of this in detail, and I also go over what kind of Islamic scripture is responsible for spreading honor culture like this. So if you want to see that, that's a 2-hour discussion. Again, you could go search for the Secular Jihadist YouTube channel, and in the video section, you should be able to see that.
Yes, I posted a link in the live chat, and I put the title right here, so you can search for this title. I would highly encourage people to go look into this because Armin digs into a lot of aspects of. Can you help me pronounce it correctly?
Right. So a lot
Thank
of people
you.
refer to this as honor, but the actual word, the actual thing that is being the actual, it's gayrat, that is the Arabic word for what this is in Islam. Okay, and the best translation for it is honor, but it's not. It doesn't capture the entirety of what it is. And again, if you want to know what gayrat is and what is, it's basically promoting gayrat, which is technically like honor culture. But if you want to know exactly what that is and why so people feel so strongly about it, again, you could watch that. But yeah, go on.
Yeah. Bengali Hindu is saying, is death penalty allowed for this particular case? So this is an incident where there is something called the law of retribution, which is based off of
It's us.
like biblical or Abrahamic law, which basically means like an eye for an eye. Which has literally sometimes meant people get blinded by the state because they blinded someone. But when it comes to honor killings, what happens is that normally these aren't prosecuted and there isn't the death penalty because oftentimes honor killings are done by the family themselves. And it is only the family of the victim who can go fight for the retribution. They can go fight for the death penalty. And oftentimes they're not going to do that against their own family member. That's my understanding and based off of some things I've read.
So
That's
so
unfortunate.
so executions in Iran are separate. Like for some reason they separate it from qisas, right? They call it an execution when the government is executing you for something that you did, for example, for blaspheming or gay sex or something like that, or drug related stuff, right? And if the government executes you for that, they call it an execution, right? But then there's other forms of killing people with law that they don't for some reason refer to it as an execution or edam. They call it qisas, which is an Islamic term. And those types of, I mean, it's technically it's execution, so I'm going to call it execution, right? But those types of execution, they refer to them as qisas, is because the government killing you, not because the government wants to kill you, but because the family of the person you have murdered wants to kill you. And Islamically, they have the right to demand you be killed. So the government saying like, our role in that position is not to kill you. Our role is to facilitate the execution for the family of the person that you killed. Okay, and it becomes more complicated when you kill your own family member, because now who has supposed to come and demand the killing of you? Like, so, and it becomes completely excusable, especially when the family member is a girl. Okay, so that's like, well, not excusable, but like qisas doesn't apply anymore for some reason, right? Like for example, there's no qisas. Like for example, if you kill your son, I'm not sure, but maybe the mother could come ask for qisas for the father to be killed or something like that. I'm not sure how that works, but I'm pretty sure that if the daughter is killed by the father, there is no such a thing. Like you technically basically destroyed your own property, so who's going to come and demand this to be righted? Like, this was yours anyways, right? Maybe like you should go to jail for 2 years or something. But like, yeah, so it's really, I mean, it's a huge signal to people who want to do honor killing, that even if there is a punishment, at the end of the day, isn't 2 years in prison worth cleaning your honor, like defending your honor? Like, you are trained that you would be okay to even give your life to sacrifice everything to defend your honor. So what's 2 years in prison, right? I mean, you come up with your head up, like they act like I come out of prison with my head held up high instead of like walking around in shame. So like that's like if 2 years that shows that I was willing to like pay a higher, like that shows how big of a man I am, that I was willing to sacrifice 2 years in jail. That's fine. I come up holding my head up high, showing how important my honor has been. Like, so, but that's the attitude. It's so weird. Like, I don't know if people could understand how significant, how big of an insult people consider it if their honor has been challenged. It's like your entire identity as a man sometimes seems to be I go over so many examples of brothers controlling their sisters for that, and how that's valued, and how even women celebrate that as a virtue in man, for a virtue for a man to celebrate honor in such a way, and how toxic this entire thing is. So I go over that in 2 hours, so you could check it out.
Yeah, I really highly recommend that episode of Secular Jihadists. I mean, there really isn't that much more to add about this. I mean, it's horrifying. It's horrific. It shocked everyone. My mom sent this to me. She was like, "Oh, what the heck?" Yeah, like this got a lot of coverage around the world. I think about her son.
Yeah.
Like growing up knowing that this is what your father is capable of for the sake of his honor. Like, that's terrifying. And to not have a mother because of that. It's horrible.
Yeah. It's barbaric. Yes. This is the 21st century, guys. We're still beheading people for honor. It's so unbelievable. And it's happening a lot more than even I thought. Right? So there's that. Okay. Just a little more. Yeah, 2022. Exactly. All right. Are we gonna get better news now? What is this?
I think so.
All right.
You can clap for this news.
Okay, fine. Next news.
Taliban announces the reopening of universities for women in 6 provinces. On February 2nd, the Taliban announced that some public universities in 6 provinces out of 34 will allow enrollment of female students. According to the new announcement, the male students will attend classes in the morning and the female students in the afternoon. It is still unknown who will be the instructors to teach the female students. In an interview with Bloomberg, Ahmad Massoud, a professor at Kabul University, said the Taliban's decision is a ploy to make other countries, quote, recognize them, resume aid, or release the frozen funds. However, universities are facing trouble finding enough female lecturers and teachers for the segregated classes. Legman University registered 270 female students, but only 1 female teacher. So, I wanted to cover this news because we can celebrate this. We're not celebrating the Taliban. We're celebrating the ability for these women to go back to class, which I think is worthy of celebration. What I think is interesting is there is the potential that more universities will open later because outside of this issue of the gender segregated universities and stuff, there was announcements that some there's like a staggered reopening because of the winter season. And so I read in one report that there's going to the most universities around the country should be reopened by the end of March, and we should see even more universities hopefully allow education for women to open up again around the country, not just these 6 provinces. But like I said, there's still a lot of, they have put down a strict ruling that classes are to be separated by sex. And so they're like, are they going to mandate separate classrooms? How are we going to find the right instructors? So far, it seems like the way that this is going to be implemented is that they're going to have the same classrooms. Technically, they're just going to be educating the different sexes in shifts throughout the day. Armin, your take.
I mean, they be desperate. They be this is against everything they believe in, but they need that international recognition because these are some of the conditions that the international community has given them for them to do trades and like aid and everything with Afghanistan. And Afghanistan is being like they are running. The amount of poverty and the desperation and the need for any funds to basically flowing to Afghanistan is so much right now that, and Taliban also is not capable of managing everything, and they know it, and they know that they need cash, so they're doing something that goes against the fundamentals of what they believe in, like women in universities. This is not at all resemble anything that Taliban would ever want to allow, right? And if they pretend that it is, it's just like, okay, sure. By the way, this is also the reason why a whole bunch of Taliban members are like, screw this, I'm joining Daesh, like I'm joining the ISIS-K. Like
True.
a lot of Taliban members are like, what the hell is this? This is not the Taliban I fought for. Women are getting educated in universities. Like, are you serious? Like, this is what I give my, this is what I sacrifice my life for. So a lot of Taliban members are like defecting and they're joining ISIS-K because of stuff like this, right? But also, um, like we, as soon as we became to power, now we're like sleeping with the enemy. Like what? We're talking to Americans now. We're negotiating with Americans, and people are like, but we need money. We're poor, and the Taliban members, like the ones who are against it, are like, it's fine. Let us have no food, but at least have heaven or something. Like have like, what do you want more? Like, do you want like um wealth in this world or the next one? Like we're supposed to fight for our ideals no matter what the cost is, right? So by the way, they're willing to, yeah, so that's what they're, this is going to be, yeah, making a lot of Talibanis, because Taliban is not like this, what is it called, when monolith, right? There's many different groups and many different fractions, and even with these fractions, sometimes the people who join the Taliban are like not completely in agreement with the people who are leading the Taliban, and so this is going to cause a lot. So you know, Taliban has to right now is trying to figure out what is the most biggest priority for them. Like, what is the greatest threat? Is the greatest threat going to come from the inside, or the greatest threat is going to come from out? The fact that they don't have access to enough resources for them to be able to manage this strategy. Things are going to be expensive, right? Taliban right now is in a position of where the United States was, right? Like it's easy for you to mess things up when you're like the insurgency and they're trying to, like, everybody else is trying to maintain order and you're trying to destroy the order, and they feel like they were so big. A lot of people like, oh my god, Taliban defeated the United States, as if like Taliban is, as if the United States is weak and Taliban is strong. Again, people have no idea how much easier it is for you to stir shit up, like, and cause chaos relative to how difficult it is to maintain peace. Okay, and now Taliban is discovering that now that they're on the other side of this, how difficult it's going to be for them to maintain order, right? Especially with not enough fund and resources to do so, right? But so yeah, this shows that they're bending the knee, that they're desperate, and they need the recognition. They realize that they need the international recognition. And for
Fact.
people who say like, oh, why is Taliban being recognized, why is the Taliban being talked to at all, or being dealt with, nobody should accept these people, nobody should recognize this. I mean, people are dying from hunger. Like, are you guys like, what do you want them to do? They were like, you want to stand by your ideals and just let people starve to death? Like, I don't understand how people could just talk like that. But yeah, go on, Susanna.
So, in terms of this quote from this professor at Kabul University saying, oh, this is just a ploy to make other countries recognize them, resume aid, and release the frozen funds, what do you think about that? Because
It's not just the frozen
that's like
funds.
the
It's like,
point.
yeah, that's what there's, obviously that's the point, right? Yeah, well, I mean, everybody knows that. Like, that's not something that's up for dispute. But it's not just the frozen funds. It's like, it's international aid, it's trade, it's border security, is operations with your neighbors when it comes to, like, I don't know, fighting ISIS-K. There's so many different things, right? Is investments flowing in? You know what I mean? Like, they're sitting up, they're sitting on top of gold mines. Well, not gold mines, but like rare metal mine. They're sitting on top of like what's estimated to be $1 trillion of rare metals, right? And they don't have the resources to dig and get that stuff out, right? Like they need other people. They need China and other people to come and invest and do all of that stuff. And nobody's gonna come and invest if you have like, you have ISIS cages running around and maybe attacking Chinese workers. Like you need to they first of all, they need to be recognized. Second of all, there needs to be some level of peace, like, or else, like, railways going through Afghanistan, miners coming in, international corporations coming in and doing operations, doing infrastructure. None of that is going to, like, a lot of that is not going to get started until you manage to get past this phase. So, and they know that, right? Like Taliban doesn't know how to manage a country. They need other people's help. So that's why, yeah, obviously this is going to happen. We'll see. What is this guy? Okay.
I feel like we're all under the understanding that this is a ploy for them to get what they want. But that's why the international community is putting pressure on them to do these things. So we can recognize that they're not doing it because they genuinely believe in this. But this is what the international community is like pushing for. So I don't know why people are like poo-pooing this, like, oh, this is just a ploy. Like that. No. This is the point. Know that. Like that's the world liberal order is like trying to force them to do this. Like
this is the ploy, and it's working. And we're trying to push them into being a little, we're trying to force their hand, and it's working. So I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, hold on. Let me saying. Ghostman is saying, are they getting actual education or just here's how to cook for your future husband and clean? I mean, it's a university. I'm pretty sure that's not that's not what they're teaching. I'm thinking it's somewhere in between what you're like. I don't know how good the education is. It's not like Harvard level education, okay? But it's not like as bad as just like it's a university, okay? It's actual. I don't think that's the only thing that they teach there. But go on, Susanna.
Well, there actually is very interestingly like a push to get women educated in medical sciences because that's one of the few jobs that women are allowed to do publicly nowadays because it's only other women who can help women with their health problems. And the Taliban needs that. Any functioning society needs their women to have good health because you need the freaking babies that come out in a patriarchal society. Like, they do need a lot of women in healthcare.
I mean, yeah, that's true. But other than that, it's just like, even if it wasn't, sex specific, it's half the goddamn population. You know what I mean? Like, if you remove half the population from education and managerial position and all these other important jobs, like, you can't really do much if you exclude half of your population from all of that. Yeah, but okay. So Kala is saying Taliban eventually will probably become a normal government. I highly doubt that. I don't think if it becomes a normal. I don't know what you mean
by that. It's been 40 years in Iran, and it ain't a normal government.
If it's a normal government, it's not the Taliban anymore. Okay, it's not like I don't know what you're gonna call that, but it's not gonna be the Taliban. But I don't think so. I highly.
Oh, this comment from Secular Rarity is hilarious. It's like a jilted or like a hurt girlfriend. It's like, Taliban, you've changed since you got control. We used to go out and oppress women, but now we just sit at home as girls get educated. We've lost our spark.
Okay, this person, I don't know what this is about. This person is doing all caps, is saying Benjamin Lota is saying Taliban destroyed the United States. All caps, okay, for people who can't see. And then Benjamin continues, Alhamdulillah, Taliban destroyed the United States and claimed victory. Well, last time I checked, United States is still standing, and Taliban is like more struggling. Taliban is struggling a lot more than United States. There's like if any of these two entities are in danger of actually being completely wiped out, it's the Taliban, not the United States. So I don't know what you're talking about. United States was in one region on the entirety of the global dominance of the United States is like not 100%. Okay, so now you think like, oh yeah, United States weak because they can't manage the entire goddamn planet. Okay, they only manage half of the planet and not the entirety of it. They don't have enough resources to manage the entire planet. Oh, okay, so that means they're weak and the Taliban is strong. Sure,
So Dia is saying, Susanna, have you heard the interviews with Afghan women on NPR? They aren't convinced the schools will open. It's just a promise right now. Well, no, I haven't heard these interviews, but I do understand the reticence, of course, because this is like just announced. We're going to see how it's implemented, especially as there is a sort of kind of promise that this will open up to other provinces. So yes, like we're this is an initial announcement. And of course, things are going, it's like Armin said, it's not a monolith. It's likely not going to be applied in a standardized way. So we have yet to see. I am happy for those who will benefit from this initial announcement, if it goes through. And then also Benjamin Iota is saying, y'all are advocating for giving money to men who stone women to death on camera. Disgusting. There are millions of people in Afghanistan who are 97% of Afghanistan is like vulnerable, like below the poverty line right now. Almost 50% are on the brink of starvation or already. So there's a need for aid to enter the country. And there are multiple, like tons of organizations looking at ways to get it to the people, which is what we're advocating for, to avoid it falling into the hands of the Taliban as much as possible. Which actually reminds me, I don't know if, Armin, you heard about the executive order that Biden brought down about how the U.S. is going to handle their foreign reserves of Afghanistan. But that is a big topic that we should talk about. But it's outside the purview of this news, because some of the ways that this executive order went down about what they're going to do with these funds were shocking to me.
I also got. I thought you were completely. I was also shocked by the number you just gave, so I had to check it out. And apparently, you're right. It says Afghanistan is expected to reach a 98% poverty rate by mid 2022. Okay. So, all right, that's what? Okay, never. Wow.
Yeah, so people need to get money into the country, and people are trying to figure out how to do it without routing it through the Taliban. It's not going to be a perfect system.
Yeah, so like if you want to be a principalist, this is how you get millions and millions of people into starvation and poverty and
girls being sold off at the age of 9 because their people selling their organs. Literally, this is what's happening in Afghanistan right now because they can't get any money. There literally isn't enough Afghani currency circulating around the country to sustain people. Period. They like literally don't have enough even printed. So they're like, we can, be all like morally superior all we want, but there are real issues that people are dealing with on the ground where frankly they're like, people can be all insulted about how I'm mandated to wear the hijab or whatever. I'm more concerned about the fact that I'm starving and I have to sell my children to find a way to feed the rest.
Yeah, so this is why ethic morality based on principles fails so miserably. This is why morality based on principles gets millions of people killed, okay, or in poverty or like disease ridden. Okay, this is how genocides are excused by ethics through principles. This is why you need to be a consequentialist rather than arguing through principles. Anyways, so can we clap for the next news?
No one died. We don't support it, but no one died.
Next news.
Next news. Oklahoma bill to allow teachers to be sued for quote unquote opposing religious beliefs. In the good old state of Oklahoma in the USA, Rob Standridge, a Republican senator from Oklahoma, has introduced a religiously inspired bill to the Oklahoma Senate known as the quote Students' Religious Belief Protection Act. The bill seeks to penalize educators who oppose students' closely held religious beliefs. Deeply held religious beliefs. Senate Bill 1470 includes an avenue for legal sanctions that will cost teachers a minimum of $10,000. The bill's cruelty goes even further in the financial retribution, demanding that anyone found guilty of violating the bill will have to, quote, make payment from personal resources and shall not receive any assistance from individuals or groups. Any teacher who cannot manage the payment is immediately fired and barred from teaching in the state for a period of 5 years. The bill also recommends sweeping responsibility to school officials and staff if the school does not, quote unquote, immediately comply. The bill states that noncompliance with a court order, according to this bill, by anyone who directly or indirectly promotes opposition to students' religious beliefs will be permanently banned from being affiliated in any way with all public schools in Oklahoma. According to Peter Green, a former educator and Forbes senior contributor, the bill will most likely not pass as a law as there are currently no co-sponsors and it is ripe for legal challenge. Yeah, no, this is just totally insane. So there's been a lot of stuff going on right now in the South where there's been it's not a story I've been following very closely, so pardon me if I get the details incorrect, but there's been like controversy over this school in Georgia, like banning all these LGBTQ books and like outrage over that. And then they got their funding revoked because they were going to still have these books. And then so like furries actually raised a bunch of money for this library to still operate. So, and then meanwhile, so in a different state in Oklahoma, this senator introduced a very similar bill regarding the banning of books that had to do with like sexuality, with a particular emphasis on like banning books that had to do with gender identity, because he said that it like overly sexualizes children. And then in a similar, so that was a few months ago, and now he's introduced this bill, which is just like patently insane. And allows for just the like personal retribution against teachers. I doubt that this will pass because this sounds unconstitutional. This just sounds, I mean, I'm no lawyer, but there's a lot of stuff about this that just sounds unconstitutional. I mean, it could pass, but then what happens?
It has religion in the name of the act.
But it's not that it is religion, it's about religious protection.
Okay, but
this is Oklahoma, so we're like, okay, obviously this is about privileging Christian beliefs. Duh. I mean, because any other student, if they were a Satanist, they could say, oh, like, I don't know, you having a certain feeling about banning LGBT books is actually opposing my deeply held beliefs. Or Muslim students could do the same thing. So if this was to pass, this would just turn the classroom into like a freaking religious legal battlefield where everyone's throwing back and forth about who's, most offended. So it's just like, and it would overall have a chilling effect, because how is a teacher supposed to teach literally freaking anything without knowing if it might potentially offend some random child's religious beliefs? And let's be honest, when they're talking about the students' religious beliefs, they're talking about the parents' religious beliefs. Okay? I've met a few people in my life who had very firm religious beliefs as a student, but most of the time it was like the parents who are coming back into the school environment and saying, this thing that you were teaching is, we can't do that. You need permission to teach my children this, blah, 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 because of our religious beliefs. It wasn't really the students who were contesting this kind of thing. I've only met a few kids.
It doesn't really matter, though. It doesn't really matter. It's your, like, the whole, I can't believe, like, we make fun of this whole situation where, like, we say deeply held beliefs, right? When we're like, but that, like, they're like, oh, you're like, oh, it's my deeply held beliefs, and, like, they keep using it as an excuse for something. But now they're, like, going as far as, like, oh, you can't even oppose my deeply held beliefs, like, or religious beliefs. Like they're not even, like, hiding how ridiculous they are, right? Like, they're actually, because it's going as, like, it was like, okay, I'm not going to get the jab because of religious beliefs, or like, okay, we need to be excluded from this because of religious beliefs, right? But now they're like, you can't speak against my religious beliefs. Remind me who often gets accused of cancel culture, Susanna? Who is, like, which side?
The
right?
left. The
left. Okay, so how is this
Dems?
This is like, can you show me anything this insane, this level of cancel culture ever coming from the left? Like, this is the government we're talking about. This is not like, I don't know, like, this book decided to add, like, remove this racist language from one of their pages. This is not like so and so, I don't know, journalist or like news anchor got lost their job because they found out that they posted something on Facebook like 5 years ago. Okay, this is the government suggesting that, hey, you cannot be opposing my views. Okay, this is like cancel culture on steroids. When it gets to the government, I know that I know that this is not going to pass. I mean, I hope not. But the fact that the government has the audacity, anybody government related, to even have the audacity to come and suggest like, oh, you cannot oppose our religious beliefs, then should make anybody realize that cancel culture is a right leaning thing. Okay, yes, there's a problematic Wokistani Mujahideen on the left as well, and we need to deal with it as well. But the vast majority of anything sensorial or cancel culture related, okay, and especially the most toxic, the most problematic versions of it, which is basically the government version of it, comes from right-leaning politicians. Okay, I far, you know, us losing our Twitter accounts. That's not a good example because we lost our Twitter accounts because of right-leaning people attacking. Okay, but if you if for people who have been canceled on Twitter from like a Wokistani mob or something like that, or like people who think like, you know, they got or getting a strike on YouTube or losing your, I don't know, Facebook account over something that you posted, that is not at all even remotely at the same level as anything like this. Okay, so I'm not, by the way, I'm not saying don't find cancel culture from the left, but if you are concerned about cancel culture, you have to be against anything conservative related. Okay, because they own this shit. They have invented it. They own it. Okay, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just patently insane. Kalo is saying, does it apply to all religions? Yes, it would. So it would just be an absolute shit show if this was actually applied in real life.
Whenever they suggest something like this, you know, it's a signaling to your voter base, right? And when you put that out there, because it's not going to get passed, it's just as a way for you to get popularity and votes. But the understanding is that to them it will come across as this is defending Christianity, right? Because they be religious. They're not going to think too hard about this, right? So that's what it will come across, and that's what it's intended to do, and it will achieve that goal.
Oh my god!
This is why they always get surprised when all of a sudden, like, the Satanic Temple shows up.
You're like, not like this.
Like,
not like this.
We didn't consider the fact that there are other religions.
Mustafa's saying, sounds like it could also affect books covering modern philosophy, evolution, religions, and even straight up fiction. Yes. And what's crazy is I've heard it reported two different ways. So one report said that it could apply where, say they said that there was a book in the classroom that was being taught that was being objected to. There's one report that said that it would be $10,000 per day, per person, per incident. And imagine how quickly the amount that you're liable for like racks up from that. It's absolutely insane. And then if you open a GoFundMe because you can't afford this, then you get fired. Like, you're not even allowed to do that. It's crazy. So if this actually was applied, there would be zero incentive for anyone to be a public school teacher in the entire state of Oklahoma because it's too much of a financial risk. So I don't know what good this does to your state. Who would teach there when they can be bankrupted over some random
the teachers personally can be sued?
Personally sued, and they can only use personal funds. They cannot even fundraise to cover their expenses.
How about we like say like, okay, sure, we could pass this law as long as you could also add lack of, you know, protecting people's religious and lack of religious beliefs, okay? And then we go out and basically tell them that you cannot even mention Jesus. You know, I'm gonna sue everybody who even utters the word anything. God, like if you say bless you, I'm gonna sue you. Even if I sneeze and see you bless you, I'm offended. I felt attacked, and I'm gonna, like, if you say Merry Christmas to me, you're gonna get sued. How about that? How about that? Okay,
Yeah, you
so
want
just
to
add
Christmas.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, like this is what you were promising that's gonna happen. Let's make it real.
And
All
then
right.
Dean
Okay.
says legislating protection of religion only serves to highlight how fragile it is.
Yes. True.
Perfectly put.
True. All right. Can we clap for the next news?
Oh, definitely not.
Oh no. Okay. Next news.
Next news. Iraqi trans woman honor killed by estranged brother. On January 31st, Doski Azad, a 23-year-old transgender woman from Iraq, was found dead in a shallow ditch in the city of Manjash. Doski came out to her family and left home over 5 years ago. She was working as a makeup artist in Dohuk city center in Iraq's Kurdistan region. Her friends described her as a peaceful and popular person who never wanted to see anyone sad. She had previously notified Iraq Queer, like Iraq Queer, an Iraqi LGBT advocacy group, that her relatives had been harassing her. Authorities and advocacy groups are calling her death a case of honor killing. Doski's brother is the prime suspect for her murder. And it is reported that her brother lives in Germany or another Western European country, and it is suspected that he flew to Iraq with the sole intention of killing Doski. The latest reports say that thus far no arrests have been made and that the suspect is on the run, possibly having already escaped Iraq.
Wow.
So obviously this is very sad. I thought this was interesting because this highlights a different aspect of honor killing, which is well, it's still honor killing because this is definitely like a collective crime, because it's seen as dishonoring the family. But when in the articles that I was reading, they were highlighting this honor killing from the aspect of the rejection of manhood, and like and how that was seen like that's an offense to patriarchy because she chose to live as a woman, which I thought was a very interesting perspective, like a different side of this, because this is often kind of the similar attitude in which gay men are honor killed because they are seen as dishonoring the family by rejecting quote unquote manhood. What do you think about that?
I mean, you know what I think about that. I mean, this is the second honor killing related news that we have had today, so I don't know if I want to repeat everything we said. Oh, but
No,
like
just the aspect
specifically,
of it being about the rejection of the rejection of patriarchy, the rejection of manhood.
I don't think like okay, so anything gender related that is not the norm, it would be. It's just like your kairat or your honor has been attacked, your entire family has been disgraced, you have been embarrassed. Like I don't think it goes like I don't know what the specific claim here is. Like that this is like a different version of being someone's honor being challenged. I don't think the people who do stuff like this are philosophizing about it too much. I think they just feel like this is embarrassing. This is like shameful, and something needs to be done. We need to show that. I need to make sure that I show that this is not something signal that this is not something that I stand for. Right. I think that's what I don't know what goes on actually in these people's heads. Anyways, I don't know. I see a tweet embedded here by the U.S. Consulate General in Erbil. Why are they talking like was she like somehow American related or something? Like how is
No,
this like
but
is it
this
something
caught the attention of the U.S. consulate in Erbil, and they made
is
a
this a usual
statement
thing
about
for
it.
them to do?
I don't
I didn't know
know.
they get involved in local and like she's completely Iraqi citizen and everything.
Yeah, I think she was maybe
So
Kurdish.
okay, I mean, I'm not complaining. This is good. This is a good tweet by the U.S. Consul General in Erbil, but I just didn't know they get involved in talking about stuff like this. So
I know
okay.
that really surprised me.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
I think there is I mean, it's obviously like you said, both about the disruption of like highly conservative gender norms and how that is seen as poorly reflecting upon like the general family unit or like inner tribe as the primary motivation. But I do think it is kind of interesting to consider how it is seen as, it is kind of different though, because it is about like because masculinity is so highly prized as a source of honor, to have it be a particular different kind of affront to have someone reject it in that way.
I don't think that's how they think. I don't think that's.
I
I
mean,
think
no, I
they.
don't think that they're literally thinking this through.
No, I don't think that's what they're feeling. Okay, maybe I'm completely wrong about this. I just think like they think this is as disgusting, as depraved, as weird, as gross, as shameful. I don't think like they come thinking like the concept of manhood needs to be defended. Okay, I just think like they think like I'm a lesser man because I let this slide. This is like, this is so, they will say that it's so gross, and the fact that this has any association with my family is, and me and my brother, and this being my brother, I need to make sure that I clean it off. Okay, that's the feeling. I don't think like they're like the man they're thinking like manhood as a concept needs to be protected, and this is not something you should be able to reject. No, I just think like you weird, gross, disgusting, depraved, and this is not part of my family. I cannot tolerate that. That's the, I think that's what goes. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Okay, we're talking about people who think honor killing is a thing, so I don't know if we could even relate. Okay, but I do want to read the tweet by the U.S. Consulate General in Erbil. For people who don't know, the Kurdish part of Iraq is a bit of like somewhat autonomous, so that's why that consulate might be acting differently. Anyways, I'm just going to read. The United States notes with concern media. Oh, there needs to be a comma here, I think. The United States notes with concern media reports that Doski Azad, a resident of Duhok, is that right, was the victim of so-called honor killing. So, and they put honor in quotations, right? We categorically condemn this violence and the discrimination that is undoubtedly at the root of this crime. We ask the authorities to thoroughly investigate this murder and prosecute the perpetrator to the fullest extent of the law. I don't know. Do you think like some people might argue like this might not be helpful because now people think like now if you actually go and take this seriously, people are thinking you're giving in to the United States pressure. I don't. Some people might say that, but I don't think that's true because this is the Kurdistan part of Iraq, and I don't think they think like that. I think over there they're more. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think the Kurdistan part of Iraq is a lot more Western friendly than some other areas in Iraq.
Well, based on interviews that I read with LGBT activists that are local to that area, it seemed like they kind of appreciated that support because oftentimes the authorities are too conservative to actually do anything about it. So like the attention from like this form of authority, I think they would maybe appreciate better than having no one. And I did read some reports that it seemed like maybe Interpol is getting involved in terms of finding this man. So the details on that were unclear, so don't quote me on that. But if that's the case, that is some good news.
Okay, read this one.
Rajesh is saying, calling it honor killing, he ran like a bitch. His honor is attached to his sister's life. Fortunately, that's how these attitudes are imbued in people.
Yeah. I mean, technically, yeah, that's what it is attached to. To female members of the family. I mean, that's the main way that you prove your qira or honor with these kind of traditional ways of thinking.
Self-policing.
Yeah. Yeah, I really hope they get. But he's still not arrested. He's still free right now.
The last that I read.
Okay, that's insane. I hope they catch him. All right. Can we clap for the next news?
Yes, we can.
Next news.
Kenyan atheists bid for recognition. Recently, atheists in Kenya, a predominantly Christian nation, are becoming more public with their views. After facing years of strong opposition and discrimination, Atheists in Kenya Society was finally granted an official registration letter in February 2016. In an interview with Religion News Service, Harassed Mumia, founder of the Atheists in Kenya Society, said that they are trying to rebrand atheism to help Kenyans see that atheists are empathetic and that they also intervene to help fellow humans. For example, in 2020, the group successfully paid off the high school fees for the son of an impoverished vegetable seller. The number of people leaving Christianity in Kenya has increased in recent years. Mumia stated in regards to people leaving their religion, quote, Kenya is changing. This should be the next earthquake.
Okay. And what kind of backlash do you expect? 'Cause
Well,
Kenya.
I think
Okay.
based on wait, give me a second. There's something I wanted to bring up. Kenya is really starting to come into itself in a lot of ways. It has a really young population, and part of having a younger population is that there's also increasing access to the internet, and so there are more people questioning and they have more access to information. But I wanted to cover this because atheists in Kenya received their own full profile in Religion News Service, which is a big deal. This is a major publication for religious news, and they work and also publish alongside the Associated Press. And so I was so excited to see international atheists, specifically African atheists, getting this sort of coverage in a major news publication like Religion News Service. What I thought was interesting is in their
your audio got cut. Can you go back a few seconds and say it again? Is it just cut for me, or is it cut for other people? Okay, go.
I don't know, but in the profile that they did, like in terms of backlash, it was mainly religious leaders kind of like dismissing what they do, or dismissing their importance, or dismissing their growing power. Like there are estimates that out of the Kenyan population, there are almost 800,000 atheists. But the Atheists in Kenya Society, they think that it's more like maybe 1.5 million. And so, for example, in the issue of the society raising money to pay off all the school fees for this high school student, there was a religious leader who was asked about this in this profile, and he was like, oh, they only did this for like the publicity, basically, like totally dismissing what they do. Like they only did this to, make people think that what they do is good, but it's not really because, they care about this man. And what pissed me off so much is in this profile, the guy says that they only did this because of the innate godliness in them. It made me so mad. He said he credited their generosity, meanwhile, to a God-given empathy. I think that they want to gain mileage and publicity using the vulnerable. I don't think this is at all about being human. They may say they don't believe in God, but the element of God in them is what makes them be good.
Wait, isn't he contradicting himself? Which one is it? Are they being kind because of God, or are they not being kind because they just want publicity?
They're saying any kindness that they do have is attributed to God. Like any good part about this is attributed to God, but in general, they're publicity motivated, which I think is so rich coming from a religious leader, because especially any Christian, because this is like the main push for so many Christian campaigns is using the vulnerable to promote their religion. And what I was like, the hypocrisy is just killing me. What Mumia highlighted when talking to Religious News Service about this thing is that when they gave all this money to this vegetable seller to pay for the kids' education, she thanked God. She was thanking God. And he's like, we did this because we found a story in people who needed help. We knew that they were religious. It's not about helping only our own kind, and that's okay. Like we just wanted to help these people. So I thought that was interesting.
All right. So a few things. Okay. It's okay to do things for two reasons. Okay. You could be helping people and getting positive publicity. And that's okay because atheists have been victims of negative publicity for such a long time. right? So if part of the equation is to show that atheists, I mean, this is the truth. Atheists are capable of doing charitable things. Okay, if part of the motivation that you're doing charity is to show to the world that that atheists are capable of being charitable, that is yes, that is publicity, and rightfully so. The difference between doing publicity to publicize something that needs to be publicized in this way, and the way religious people do it sometimes, like, well, not all of them, but many religious organizations and some other organization, is that you're being clear about what's being done here. Okay, so you're not hiding it, you're being transparent about it, right? Yeah, you part of the messaging, okay, you want to call it publicity, part of the messaging is, look, atheists are not all like immoral. Like, you don't necessarily, like, charity and good deeds could be done outside of religion, and that's your message, and you're putting it out there. That is called publicity. Okay, if you're not lying about it, if you're not lying about your intentions, if you're not hiding your motivations, there's nothing wrong about it. Then you're doing two good things at the same time. You're helping people, and also you're fighting back against this negative propaganda that exists against atheists. Okay, so is it publicity? Yeah. Is it publicity? Yeah. That's a good thing. Why is that bad? Doing two good things at the same time. You're not just helping those people that are being that in need. You're also helping the image of atheists worldwide. So why should I not do publicity? Why should we not do publicity? The entire religious propaganda has been against us for thousands of years, making us seem like we're like the devil and evil and incapable of doing good. We need publicity against all the forces that you have put up against us. So thank you for your publicity, Kenyan atheists. What is this video here in this?
Oh yeah, so when Atheist Republic Cape Town launched their channel, Dean interviewed Harrison Mumia. Harrison was one of the first guests on our Cape Town channel. So I plugged that in because if you want to see Harrison and learn a little bit more about the atheist in Kenyan society, you can check out what we talked about on our Atheist Republic channel.
Okay, guys, go check out the Atheist Republic Cape Town channel. Apparently, they discussed this. So, what is this video? So, yeah, you could go and find this video over there. What is this video called?
It's like Meet the Atheist, Harrison Mumia, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, guys, we have just for people who don't know, we have African general African channel. Okay, so it's not just like Cape Town, it's like other places in Africa as well. We have a Persian channel, we have an Arabic channel, right? And so hopefully soon we're going to get other channels like Kurdish and Spanish. So at some point, if we ever get more support, we will expand to other places as well, right? So, but yeah, this is Inshallah. Go check out this interview if you're interested into getting more details about this kind of activity in Africa. Yes. Okay, cool. There we go. I do recognize that it's weird that people treat Africa as if it's just whole one country sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, we're like in Africa, like, I don't know if this is because I kind of get a cringy feeling when every time I hear some people say like in Africa, but now I'm feeling uncomfortable about saying it, because sometimes I get butthurt over this, because people don't say in Europe, or people don't say in North America, okay, or people don't say in Asia, they say, I mean, they do, but mostly like when something happens in Europe, you say in Germany, in France, right, or you say in United States or in Canada. Or you say like, I don't know, in China or in Japan. You don't say like, oh, like you don't talk about atheism in. I mean, you do, but most of the time, if something happens, if something is happening in Germany, you don't refer to it as like. I mean, we didn't, because the title says Kenya, so we didn't do that. But I'm just like overly conscious about not doing that. Okay, so, but at the same time, when if the channel or if a movement is about I mean, the other side of this is that we want Africa to work with each other, right? Because there's a lot of struggles there that is just connected with each other, and a lot of the struggles that people could relate with each other. So there's a lot of things that are happening. There's a lot of movements that are happening that is united between multiple different African countries. So you don't want to be like, oh, I don't want to refer to it as an African thing. Well, it is an Africa. It's not a country specific thing. There are sometimes certain things that are you want to support as this wider region. So I want to make sure that I'm not too sensitive about it, because like sometimes it's a good thing to talk about issues like continent wide.
I'm comfortable saying just African atheists because, in general, in the atheist movement globally, African atheists as a whole aren't highlighted very much.
Right. So we can acknowledge.
Speaking of, where is it? Dean, the leader of Atheist Republic Cape Town, is saying later today we have an Afrikaans panel on religion in schools.
Guys, go check out the channel.
So go check it out, you guys.
Go subscribe to Atheist Republic Cape Town channel, and support this, because like this is really good. Like this is the kind of attention we need to things and to movements in Africa, because not enough people talk about African related issues. Okay, so and as atheists, that we want to make sure that we bring attention to as many atheists as possible. We don't want to be. We want to make sure that Africa is going to be the future. Okay, this is going to be where all the battle lines are going to be drawn when it comes to defending secularism, and like the religious people are not standing by. Okay, when it comes to Africa, they're like moving heavily in Africa. Okay, so we need to make sure that secular activists and atheists are there to make sure. Yeah, like Africa doesn't deserve all of this. Like Iran, for example, is investing heavily in spreading Hussein all over Africa, especially right now in Nigeria. So and they're being successful. Okay, so we need to make sure that we're also present there and to fight back against that bullshit, because Africa deserves better than all that religious nonsense, right?
True.
Anyways, but thank you so much, Dean, for everything you're doing on the channel. Really appreciate your work there. Okay, cool. Let's
and we have love for Dean and his work in the live chat. You'd love to see it.
That's nice. Okay. Let's move on, guys. All right, can we clap for the next news?
How about no? It's not the worst,
okay.
But no.
Okay, next news.
Next news: Egyptian Christian sentenced to years in prison for blasphemy against Islam. This was interesting to me. In Egypt, on January 29th, Marcos Gurgis, a Coptic Christian, was found guilty of multiple charges, including quote-unquote contempt for Islam by the Cairo Economic Court. The ruling resulted in a 5-year prison sentence. Gurgis was arrested in June 2021 on suspicion of having quote-unquote sexual images on his mobile phone. Prosecutors said that these images were offensive to Islam. The Egyptian Initiative for Personal Rights, or EIPR, an advocacy group that aims to strengthen fundamental rights in Egypt, reported that Gurgis's charges including, quote-unquote, infringing on the values of Egyptian family life. According to the New Arab, a pan-Arab media outlet, Gurgis was just an ordinary citizen with no affiliation to any entity. EIPR accused the Egyptian government of using unconstitutional laws and unfair court proceedings to target individuals accused of blasphemy. The human rights watchdog fears that Gurgis's prosecution will signal an increase in human rights violations in Egypt.
It's a friendly reminder that Egypt is going the wrong direction, whatever, with regards to all of this blasphemy stuff. By the way, the people who were defending this regime over Morsi because of they thought like it, technically they would have been worse. So I don't know, but yeah. So I don't know what to say, what to comment on this over the other than what is obvious about how horrible this is. What what do you think we should add to this? Like this is pretty self-evident.
It's really interesting to me because it's not often granted, we don't get news out of Egypt this often, so I should put some asterisks on this. But usually when I hear reportings on this, this is a Muslim thing, because my understanding, which isn't that deep, is that, kind of Christians are oftentimes these offense against religions things are more inter-community or intra-community. And so to have it actually be a Christian who's found guilty for contempt of Islam, seemed like slightly unusual to me. I could be wrong. Maybe this is actually not that unusual in the way that this is being applied. But then also just the nature of it is so bizarre. So, I was looking for information on this, and there's not really a lot of info on this. Like, so there's sexual imagery on his phone, and the sexual imagery is an offense to Islam. Like, what does that even mean? Like, is it a
don't know what the
sexual
images are.
blasphemy thing? Like,
Yeah.
is it just any sexual imagery in general that's against Islamic values?
It's probably a sexualized or Muhammad or something, or like one of those pictures of him like having sex with a pig or something like that. I'm assuming. I don't know, but that
Maybe.
I'm guessing that something is like that, because we haven't seen the image. I'm just assuming it's like maybe he saw some very offensive. He enjoyed watching some very offensive images about Muhammad and stuff, and he just made a mistake of downloading it or something, saving it on his phone. I mean, not a mistake by my standards, but how did I get to his phone?
I don't know. There's really not a lot of clarity around this. Well, and especially considering the fact that a lot of the news is in Arabic, and I can't read Arabic. I have to look for other sources to talk about.
It's so scary. Like, no degree of privacy. Like, you can't, like, even if you're trying to keep the blasphemy only on your goddamn phone, like, they could still get at you and find you and like basically destroy your life over something you haven't even shared. You just have it on your phone. Like, you're not even like advertising it. You're just like, oh, this is cool.
Right?
Just putting it, like, it's not like you're like having a Facebook page or like, hey, this is like Islam sucks or something. Here's some posting some memes or something. You're like, you just privately are enjoying some, I don't know, spicy memes or something. I don't know. And you can't even do that. Like, they were gonna get you, gonna find you. Like, we're just like, is like, who? I'm asking questions of religious people as if I was gonna say like, who's he's hurting, as if if he was sharing it, he was hurting anybody, right? Like, even by here I will clarify. Even by Islamic standards, okay, this guy's not hurting anybody, okay? Even by Daniel Hagaju kind of standards, he was keeping his blasphemy to himself, okay? So he's like privately holding it, like, oh my god, this is spicy, I need to save this, right? Like, he's not going out and like advertising. He's not like advertising his like apostasy or anything like that. Like even based on Islamic standards, they like, okay, like, we can't, if you're like secretly an atheist, we're not gonna come digging the fact that you're an atheist and like hold you responsible for it. Like, it has to get out there. Like, you have to like be trying for it to get out there. So even by conservative Islamic standards, this is like overkill. So I don't know what these people are doing. Okay, so yeah, like, he says that on his phone. It's really scary. Like, imagine the signal that sends to other atheists that are like have a whole bunch of in Egypt who might have a whole bunch of. They're probably, a lot of them are cleaning up their phones right now. A lot of them might be like unfollowing. And
this guy was like a religious
pages.
person. It's a lot worse for the atheists, because the fact that they have apostatized. There's been cases in Egyptian law because they don't have a direct apostasy law, but the fact that they did apostatize is seen as an insult to Islam, so then it's covered under the blasphemy law, like just legal loopholes to get at these people. So that's what I thought was interesting about this case with the Egyptian Initiative for Personal Rights, the advocacy group, which itself has been targeted by the state, where they're making the point where this is almost less about the blasphemy and more about this signaling of using these overly vague laws that violate international norms to just get at citizens, using things like infringing on the values of Egyptian family life to charge someone. What kind of a charge? What does that mean? What is, so using these very broad laws, if blasphemy is inherently a vague law,
My
to
God,
infringe
man.
upon people's rights.
This
It's
is why I
crazy.
want to piss on everything you hold sacred, because you be
Whoa.
bunch of sensitive. Seriously, you guys are so sensitive. This is why we piss on your beliefs, because you need to you need to grow us, you know. Oh my God, these it's ruining someone's entire life because oh my God, my values. Here, I am
Our
offended. So destroy
family
this man's life. Destroy this man's entire life because my values is me must too spicy for my take, and nobody saw it. Like it's not even out in the open. We don't even know what it is. But the potential of hurting other people's feelings was enough to completely ruin this man's life. And like the standards are insane. They don't see how could you not see that you're on the wrong side of this? Like you're destroying people over this. Okay, no, just move on. All right.
It's crazy. Yeah, there's no real good explanation. Hopefully, there is some appeals process that this guy has available to him.
Okay. So somebody's saying this is why. Okay, oh that's my. Oh yeah, meme that. But this one is pretty cool. Armin, fix your hair. You look unkept. No. Okay, no. Go screw yourself. Okay.
I like
I'm
this
gonna.
guy's username. It's Assembly of God.
Okay.
I'll
All
go.
right.
I'll go to the church of ass.
Susanna is like looking into the distance. I will go. All right. All right. She's happy now. Oh, that's cute. All right. Can we clap for the next news?
Yeah, no one died.
Next news.
Next news. Sydney Christian School equates same-sex
Wait.
relationships
No,
with
no, 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 no.
abuse.
So we have to start from the beginning. You got cut for too many seconds. We didn't even get the title. Okay. All right.
Okay.
One more time.
Next news. Sydney Christian School equates same-sex relationships with abuse. Last week, Brisbane's City Point Christian College received resounding condemnations from advocacy groups for student contracts with morality clauses that stigmatized LGBT students. Due to that fallout, Penrith Christian School in Sydney has now fallen under scrutiny for similar practices. Penrith made it a part of the student enrollment process for parents to, quote, read and understand the school's, quote unquote, statement of faith. The document includes the statement, quote, adultery, same-sex attraction, transgender identity, premarital sex, sexual acts between members of the same sex, and abusive relationships are examples of relationships which are not acceptable to God, listing these as examples of, quote unquote, fallen relationships. It is not clear if there are any consequences for violating the statement of faith. When asked by The Guardian to respond to the criticism, the school's principal, Tracy Dean, declined to give any comments, insisting instead that the statement of faith has been taken out of context.
This is like such a deja vu. Didn't we just go over exactly something like this just like last week?
Well, that's what I was saying, that in
Yeah.
Brisbane, this fallout with the City Point Christian College has kind of brought all these kinds of statement of faiths across the country to light. And so this is an example of them digging into the statement of faith of another school, and people are like, oh, what the hell? Like, look at the shit that's in here.
Yeah, this is a form of cancel culture I could get behind. like when it comes to like these are bigots, you need to shine a line on the fact on what these organizations and churches actually stand for. Okay, so this is good. I endorse this. I support this. Keep keep hunting these organizations down. Like, are these the same organization who get like tax benefits, from the government in Australia? Because they
I
shouldn't
don't
be.
know. These are Christian schools, so I don't know what the law is in Australia about that kind of thing, but hopefully not.
But like, okay, so yeah, so they should pay whatever consequences, whatever fire they're on. for all of these bigoted, for all this bigotry. I support all of that. Okay, I want them to be, I want their all their organizations to fail because of this, right? So good. Yeah, keep at it, Australians. Go at them.
Well,
Go at them.
that's what's kind of funny is that there's this huge controversy in Australia right now, which I touched on last week, that has to do with an anti-discrimination bill. And when you hear anti-discrimination bill, you think, oh, cool, this is like to prevent discrimination against, people on the
No,
basis of their immutable rights. No, it's to prevent discrimination against religious people for their bigotry towards LGBT people. It's like about you're discriminating against me because I'm
it's
not
the
legally allowed to discriminate against others.
This is such a
So
meme. It's so weird.
it's ridiculous. So
I
this kind
feel,
of
guys,
folds
this
into
is not
that
a.
larger conversation.
I know this sounds like a joke, but they literally are saying, I feel discriminated for not being able to discriminate. I mean, they're outing themselves. This is so good. Like they keep on saying, like, my religion is under attack because you're anti-bigotry. Like, yes. I'm glad that you're admitting that your religion stands for bigotry. Good. Like keep signaling that to the world. Like this works so much in our favor. The more these organizations come and complain about the fact that they want to be bigots, just like the Hindu groups, the Hindu organization in the United States that are against like the whole anti-caste laws that are coming, rules that are coming in. It's the exact same thing. They're like, oh, if you want to fight caste discrimination, the Hindu organization is going to complain. If you want to fight homophobia and transphobia, these Christian organizations are going to complain, and they're outing themselves, right? They're like signaling to the world that they are for bigotry and discrimination. Good, keep doing it. You're doing our job for us. Yeah, yeah. It's that effing ridiculous. Exactly, right. Anyways, we should move forward to the next news. Is there anything else you want to add while I bring up the next news?
No, this next news is cool.
Oh wow, I know this guy. Can we? Okay, so we can clap. I'm assuming.
Yes, we can.
Next news.
Next news. Why does Facebook keep killing Bangladeshi atheists? Recently,
Whoa.
several notable Bangladeshi atheists and secular bloggers lost access to their Facebook accounts as they found that Facebook had closed their account and marked it as remembering, a function reserved for those who had died. Alarmed and shocked, the bloggers soon realized that this was the outcome of a planned attack on many popular online figures within the Bangladeshi blogosphere. Arifur Rahman, a London-based Bangladeshi cartoonist and secular blogger, stated that the phenomenon of Facebook declaring accounts as memorialized happened to a plethora of well-known Bangladeshi activists. When asked about the process of raising his account from the dead, Arifur stated, "It wasn't easy. I've been sending them the required ID and evidence for over 2 weeks, and no one from Facebook ever sent me an email confirming or denying it." Although many of the bloggers were able to eventually retrieve their accounts, some worry that this will happen again and they will not receive any help from Facebook to prevent it. So, this is particularly exciting for me because I saw Arthur posting about this on Twitter and tagging us. And then I went to go look for someone to talk about this, and no one was posting about this. No one reported on this. So I talked to a member of my team, and we interviewed Arif about this problem. And so this is like, we're the first people to report on this issue. And so I would highly encourage people to go read this interview that we did with Arif on our website. You can just Google "why does Facebook keep killing Bangladeshi atheists," or the sources in the description, because this interview with Arif is fantastic. He talks a lot about this issue at large, and he also talks about his background and how his activism has evolved, what's going on in the Bangladeshi blogosphere currently right now for secularists, and in kind of his history as well. It's a fantastic interview.
I'm familiar with this feature on Facebook because when my mom died, my mom had given me access to her Facebook account, and we had a lot of pictures there. Okay, and I don't know how Facebook realized that she died, and it switched to remembering, and I lost a whole bunch of our pictures that were on private with my mom and everything, and I can never get access to them again. Um, so so I know what this. Yeah, your account turns into remembering, but imagine how horrifying that must be for a whole bunch of family members who just all of a sudden see your account announcing your Facebook account announcing that you're dead. Like they must be like, I mean, imagine like I don't know, like imagine people who love you all of a sudden like for a couple of minutes there they're gonna be like devastated. Like yeah, especially if you're an atheist and there's reasonable, a Bangladeshi atheist. So and there are situations where you could imagine that they would be, for people who don't know, Bangladeshi atheists are under their a lot of threat, and a lot of Bangladeshi atheists and secular activists have been killed, right, by 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 Islamic mobs, right? So yeah, that must be very scary. But I don't know how. There's no like customer service or anything on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Like you just like sometimes like our account has been demonetized, for example, right? And we are supposed to get reviewed for like months now, and there's like every time we complain about the fact that nobody's looking at it, like it's just like we're talking into the void. It's like there's nobody on the other side, right? By the way, guys, if anybody knows anybody in YouTube, please reach out to us because we haven't been, so that's still happening. But yeah, but I don't know if this us bringing attention to this is not going to do much. It's like I don't know because it's just like such a. This is why we need more competition against Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube because they don't give a crap about any of us. Like, I mean, there's not enough competition for them to value us being upset about anything. So, need more competition.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Taslima Nasrin, when she was talking about this, she suspects that what the Islamists do is that they make fake death certificates and then inform Facebook, and then Facebook closes the account, which is just like the extent to which people are willing to go to try to do these things. And I found out about this because, like you said, people are going to see this and think that someone happened to their family member or friend. I'm friends with Arif on Facebook, and I was poking around, and all of a sudden I saw his account was remembering, and I was like, what? Like, I was shocked and I was worried. So I went digging through his social media, and then I saw on his Twitter, because I started Googling him. I'm like, wait, was it he reported that he died? And I didn't see anything. And so then I was looking on Twitter, and I see that he's posting like, guys, I'm alive. Like, I don't know what's going on. So, and I was shocked that no one's been talking about how this is an issue of the Bangladeshi secularists are being targeted with, that we were able to get this out and have it kind of collected and talked about. And because more people need to talk about how this, particularly vulnerable group of secular activists is being targeted right now. And they're saying like, we have so many threats against our lives in the real world, and now in the digital sphere, like we're being killed. This is ridiculous. And the platform doesn't have any good ways to actually ensure that this doesn't continue to happen, and they're not continually targeted. The good news is that like Arif is back on Facebook. He's no longer dead, but it took him way longer than it should have. It shouldn't have never happened in the first place.
Yeah. Good thing you brought attention to this, so thank you for that. All right, let's move to the next news. But I'm having a problem with the next page. Just a second.
Do you want me to open it?
Yeah, can you actually open it? That would be good.
Yeah. Un momento. Cool. Okay.
All right, let's clap for this one.
Of course. Okay. Oh yeah, wait, no, I have to bring it up. So okay, next news.
Next
news. Atheist Republic CEO speaking at the Humanist Society of Santa Barbara. Yay! So, guys, I am announcing that I will be giving a talk at the Humanist Society for Santa Barbara next week, next Saturday, 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. And if you would like, well, first of all, I'll tell you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to be talking about more of like my personal journey, more of my background, like my experience with religion, why I left religion. And then also I'm going to be talking about a little bit more about kind of my journey towards skepticism and critical thinking on the basis of, kind of being a little bit of a militant leftist, and then how I left that, or how the, atheist skeptic community helped me leave that. I am going to be showing some never before seen baby pictures, childhood photos. It's going to be great. And then I'm also going to be talking about Atheist Republic at large. And I'm going to be talking about the importance of international solidarity in global atheist activism. So it's going to start out with like a little bit about me, more than, I've kind of gotten into before. And then I'm going to just talk about Atheist Republic and what we like to do, and then how I'm passionate about building international community. So very interesting topic, I think. The Humanist Society of Santa Barbara is a fantastic little humanist group. The founder is a sweetheart. She's been a big supporter of Atheist Republic and a supporter of me from my very first interview of Secular Jihadists. So I was happy and very honored that she asked me to come talk to her group. I put a link to the registration for the talk in the very top of this video. So if you want to register, please do. There are only 100 spots for the Zoom talk. So there is actually like a finite number of seats. So make sure to get your registration. And also, it is important to note that this talk is happening on a Saturday. So it is happening on the same day that we normally do the news. So I can't do this and the news in the same day because I need like a separate day to prepare for each. So next week, the news will happen one day, later than we normally do. We'll still do the news next week, but instead of it being, in North America, it happens on Saturday. Instead, it'll be on Sunday. Or if you live elsewhere, it normally happens on Sunday. It'll be on Monday. So still, don't panic, guys. We'll still be here. We'll still do the news, just wait the next day.
Good.
But yeah, I'm really excited every time I give a talk. I love how Atheist Republic community comes out so large. So they come out big to support me. It's very sweet. And I'm very excited for this. So I think it'll be fun. And I'm going to be talking about something that I haven't spoken about before, this more like international engagement aspect. I'm a little bit nervous because, this is not what I'm used to talking about,
Oh,
But
it's going to be great. Guys, make sure you go there and support her, because every time like Susanna went and talked somewhere, you guys, the people, Atheist Republic community, they showed up, and it made it a very pleasant experience. I hope, like last time, by the way, they forgot to open the chat to everybody, so make sure like the Zoom call opens the chat for people to talk in the live chat, because you're not going to see people being there if they can't like be active in the live chat, right? So we have to make sure that that's happening. But yeah, guys, make sure you show up there like last time you did. So because it's not when Susanna shows up somewhere and then you guys are always there, like from the Atheist Republic community is always there. It's a really great. It shows how like people notice, like, oh my god, half the live chat is Atheist Republic,
more
right?
than most, the vast 75%, like.
Yeah, and it basically shows how strong of a community that we have and how supportive of a community we have. So you guys have been really great in the past couple of events that Susanna has had, and it also makes people re-invite Susanna because she comes with her community. Like so when she gets invited, that all you guys are going to show up there. So they're like, oh my god, like we need to invite Susanna to more events because this is like we want more people to show up at our events, right? So you guys have been very supportive in the past.
I have that pull. Get that attendance up, baby.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So, AJ already signed up. That's great. And also, um, Susanna, is it okay if I put your Atheist Republic email in the live chat for people who want to invite you in other events?
Oh, totally.
Okay. So I'm gonna put your Atheist Republic email in the live chat, and I'm also gonna highlight it. Okay. So if anybody wants to have the events that Susanna has had before, like when on any other panel she has been, people had loved her every single time. People loved having her on her panel, right? So if you're having another like event, related to atheism or secularism, activism, right? So um, Susanna would be the best person to have, okay, on that panel. So just or even as a moderator, okay, if you need a moderator or something like that, right?
Oh,
So
that's
and that's her
right.
email.
I forgot
Yeah.
about that
So
other recent invitation. Another announcement coming soon, you guys.
oh, really? Okay, cool, cool. So, wow, you're getting popular. Okay, so if you want to have Susanna on your event, here's her email. You can reach out to her, email her, and let her know that you're having an event, and she will let you know. All right, cool, guys. So
Adam
I
is
gotta
saying,
go.
I'm going to get on my bicycle and head to Santa Barbara right now. Adam, I know you're in Malaysia, but luckily this is virtual,
This
so
is
you don't have
virtual.
to get on your bike. You can attend anyways.
Yeah, guys, this is virtual. You guys, you just like it's in a Zoom. It's a Zoom call, right? It's a
Yeah,
Zoom event. Okay,
they just have a
so
limited number of Zoom seats, so you got to register.
is it free or is it charged?
Yeah,
Wait, which one?
it's free.
Okay, guys, it's free and it's limited seats. Okay, so we
And
just
I'm
want to
tempting
make
you
sure
with baby photos.
with baby. Yeah, we want to see Susanna's baby photos, guys. Make sure you go get this before their seats run out. Okay, so we want to make sure it's mostly you guys over there. Okay. Okay. Cool. 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 All right, guys. This was fun. Thank you, everybody here, and we gotta go, but we're gonna be back here soon. So make sure you don't leave. Nobody, guys, don't go anywhere. If you have not yet liked the video, you are not allowed to leave. You're not allowed to leave. Nobody is allowed to leave. Make sure you like, and then leave. That really supports our channel. So make sure you do that. Okay. Good. We have an understanding. Good. Okay. So, and share it if you can as well. And leave a comment after the stream is over. All right, guys. Thank you. And bye.
Bye. I had fun.
Oh, me too.